All right, so welcome to the School in Cameroon info session. Get my slides up. All right, here we go. So I'm Nicole, Chance. I advise for the Middlebury School in Cameroon, and this is Emma. Emma, you want to say hi? Let the people know who you are.
Yep, I'm Emma, and I was in Cameroon last spring.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why Cameroon. A lot of people have trouble or wanting to decide between Cameroon, France, or other French-speaking West Africa. We're going to talk about the academic program, housing, how much it's going to cost, when you should go, and basically just talk you through the next steps. There's a video on our website. It's 2 minutes long. You can take a couple minutes and watch that. It'll give you a little bit of a flavor for Cameroon. In order to apply, you need to have a B- overall, B in your major, and B in your French course. So what that means is you need to have declared your major before February 1st. One of the things that you need is your approval from your major advisor. So after you have declared your major, that advisor will go into your application and be able to complete just a few questions on your behalf to make sure that studying abroad in Cameroon fits in with your overall academic plan. You also need a language assessment from your current or most recent language professor. Let us know that you're at the right level to go. In order to go, you have to have completed second year French plus one content course. So either 209 or 210, and then one more. You're supposed to take a language class prior to the semester that you're going abroad. For some people that doesn't work. It just shouldn't have been too long. If you're going to study abroad next spring, you can't fit one in the fall. Take one in the spring and do some language house activities in the fall. As long as you've met the level, have your B, it's okay if you have to take a semester off in order to study abroad. So you do. You have to have an academic rationale. Pretty much the fact that you've gotten this far in French is your academic rationale as far as we're concerned. My whole job is to help people go abroad. So I'm not here to put up roadblocks for that. So don't worry that you're not a French major or you're not an African studies minor or whatever. It's just if you're interested in going to Cameroon and you're at that level of French where you want to kind of take the next step, that's great. If you want to go in the spring or the fall, you need to talk about what the academic rationale is there too, and it shouldn't be an extracurricular. It should be something that is needed for your academic program. Definitely give preference to people who are getting ready to study abroad for the whole year. So it doesn't mean you won't be able to go for just one semester. It just means just before you get too far down the line of I have to go this semester, I can only spend this much time, just give it a good college try and see if you can make it fit for the year. Because I've never had anybody come back from the year and say, oh, it was great, but I could have left in December. It still would have been fine. But I have a lot of people come back in December and say, oh, I wish I could have stayed. So just look at it ahead of time and just see if you can swing it. Your study abroad application opens on October 1st and it is due on February 1st. So you've got months to complete it. I've got a bunch of people who will complete it on October 2nd, and then I have a bunch of people who will complete it on January 31st. So somewhere in the mid-November, mid-December timeframe is a good, if you haven't declared your major, declare your major, and that way you can get those forms off to your major advisor and your language professor to complete those. Only about a third of the faculty work during J-term, so you don't want to be emailing them in January when they're not attentive to their email because they're not working. So make sure you get those off to them. And then you can write your essay and we can solidify your plans later in January. All right. So the first question I get asked a lot is by people who are trying to figure out where to go. So Emma, how did you decide that you were going to go to Cameroon?
Well, I think I heard about the program either before I even got to Middlebury or in like my freshman year. I'd just been taking French for a bit, so I wanted to keep doing that. And I really just felt like I have gotten a lot of like European history and information, and like it's like a lot more accessible here, I guess. And like I really wanted to have this experience that, well, for one part of it was choosing to focus on African studies for IGS. So I wanted to get some like different knowledge and different classes, and just Cameroon is such a unique experience to go to, or unique country to go to for study abroad. And it's just like pretty amazing that we have a program there. And I think it would be, it's not somewhere that I would randomly think of going to. I don't think I even knew where it was when I thought of it for the first time. And yeah, it's just like really way for me was a lot different from like going to Europe or with my background and like where I've been or what I've learned about. And I wanted to have that new experience, and Middlebury gives you the support system to like facilitate that. And so it's just pretty unique. And I'm also a global health minor, so potentially going into some sort of like international development work, and there's some good internship options in that field in Cameroon. And I think it makes a difference to live in country and work with like NGOs for future reference.
Did you consider going to France at all?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did at all.
And how did you decide to go in the spring as opposed to the fall or for the year?
I guess that it really just worked into my schedule that way because I'm a Feb, so I started at a certain place. It was the semester after I had achieved the French class level. So I took a class in French every semester I was here, and then the semester after I did that. Yeah. I guess I didn't think very hard about whether I would go in fall or spring, but I didn't feel like I had enough blocks of time or enough room in my class schedule. Like I would miss a lot of Middlebury classes if I went to Cameroon for a full year. Yeah, there's a bunch of classes at the local university, but there's like specific classes at Middlebury that you won't find there. Yeah.
It's a good segue, actually. We'll go to the academic program. So your academic program, and people always say, well, what is it? And it varies a little bit. But basically, we have our own program center, and that's the picture there, bottom left. And then we have UCAC, which is the local university. And you take a mix, right? So some people will take 2 courses at our program center. They'll do an internship for credit, and then they'll take 2 courses at the university. Courses at the university are either 24 or 36 hours, and this is getting super picky, but I'm just explaining why it's not a simple like, you take 4 classes, because it's not. So if you take a 24-hour class, you have to take 3 of them. If you take a 36-hour class, you have to take 2 of them. But of course, everybody wants to take what they want to take, right? So you'll end up with a 24-hour class and a 36-hour class, which still means you need a third 24-hour class. So in order to make up to the 2 credits at the university. So there's a little bit of choice there, but that's how that works. But the only things available at the university are social sciences. So Emma, how far did you get in terms of course selection?
What ended up happening for me, I had the literature course that everyone takes with Middlebury. I had the Madumba course with Middlebury. That includes the excursions. Like you're like, okay, field trip to the market. Let's talk about like words for fruit in Madumba and try different fruits or like different things like that. Mm-hmm. And then I took anthropology of health at the university, finished the last day of that, went on our week-long spring break trip, and then came back. And actually, when we came back, I took my final in Madumba, and and then we were quarantined in our houses, or where we were neighbors. So we would have one of our other professors would come every day to Brinkley, the other student's house, and he would teach us. We did African politics and international relations, so he just came every day and taught us there. Yeah, so I got my classes in, and I realized that sounds like 4 classes, but I think the numbers worked out in the end, and then I did my finals later at home. Yeah, so I was supposed to take anthropology of gender at the university later, but it did not get the opportunity because things started closing down. So yeah, I guess that's.
And how did you feel at the university? I just want, so again, people, I was answering email today for people who are interested in going to Cameroon in the spring, and she was like, I don't really understand where I found the syllabi. And I was like, oh, there are just so many things that you're not going to find. So how was that experience for you?
A little bit disorienting, but also really funny. Just like university is beautiful. It has a pool also that you can just come use whenever, which is like really nice because there's not a lot of great like public pools in Yaoundé. Yeah, just beautiful. And the administration were like really nice and welcoming. There seemed to be like a lot of different, maybe, I don't know, maybe hoops to jump through to get your like student ID, or just like go find this office and this person, and then you wait there, and then they print something and send you somewhere else, and you wait there and they print something, and then you do a form and turn it in somewhere else. And but with the actual classes, at the beginning of every week, there's a schedule, and it lists all the classes that are happening that week. So you won't really know until then, at the beginning of every week. So you like either go and check or get someone to send you a photo, and then you're like, oh, anthropology of gender is starting this week on Thursday. I will go to that. And then when you get there, I think she handed out a syllabus. And actually, my anthropology of health class has the same professor as anthropology of gender, and she has taught winter term classes at Middlebury, which is really cool. But yeah, so I think there was, and then there was one thing I was a little confused about. We had reading assigned, and I went to the library and I was trying to ask everyone in broken French how to get this this reading printed, and ended up realizing there's a place across the street. I asked the class delegate. You have to befriend them and they will help you find your way around. There's a place across the street from the campus that is like the printing center, and you pay them a little bit of money and they will make copies for you, or I think they have some copies of specific things set aside for the classes. So that was not intuitive for me, but yeah, there's not like a Canvas site like at Middlebury.
Oh, nor was there a course pack.
Not a course pack. Yeah, so very much just have to have a good sense of humor and laugh at how like helpless you are, and like I don't understand what to do without Canvas. Yeah, and just ask people for help, really. Yeah, but it was a really good experience to have like a different just type of classroom setup, which you don't get necessarily at the Middlebury Center. Yeah, but yeah, there was a day when we were presenting in class, giving class presentations, and the windows were slightly open and it just started storming, and I could not hear the people at the front of the class because it was so loud. Just a really different classroom setting.
Did you feel like you made friends at the university at all?
Yeah, I definitely made friends with the class delegate, and I feel like the other students started to warm up to me. I'm in their group chat still. And I joined the fan club at school. So
What are they fans of?
huh?
What are they fans of?
Oh, well, it's like cheerleading, which pom-pom girls.
Right.
But more, there's no pom-poms, and it's more just like dance, and it's dance from different parts of Cameroon. but I'm pretty sure with like a contemporary, fun university twist. Um, and yeah, they're trying to get people to do athletics. Like they're actively recruiting because they think it's like a nerd school, is what people would say, and not enough people are doing sports. There's inter-university sports for like a week at the end of every year, and it changes the location. But if you're enrolled in one of the sports, they'll send you along with the team, like for free, everything covered, which I was going to go to. So our fan club was going to go to that, and we would like do our dances. I don't know if we were going to do them at sports games or just do our own thing or what, but yeah, that was incredibly fun. That was like one of my favorite things from Cameroon that I really miss. And I made some good friends there, and I'm still in their group chat too, and they're sending dance videos and such. Yeah, it's fun group. Highly recommend.
Good. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about housing. So your director, her name is Ariane, and she is from Cameroon. She did her PhD at BU, so she's well versed in the States. Actually, I had a meeting with her the other day, and she is in Boston, so she comes back fairly regularly. She has family in the area. Somebody had a baby, so she had to come, help out and be the auntie. She will place you in homes with local families, and she will not tell you who your families are before you get there, because she gets one piece of paper where you kind of talk a little bit about what you're looking for, and then she has to place you in these families who she knows really well. So her MO is kind of to, sketch out what she thinks and then meet you and make sure she was right, basically, because she knows the family and she won't know you. So she wants to make sure that she's made a good match. And so that's why, but it drives you all and your parents crazy. You all know where you're living, but all the families they're different, so you want to make sure that you're in a good setup for you. As you can see there on the top right, the families are definitely upper middle class. I counted the chairs, I think in that house, I was like, you could have like 27 people seated here at one time. Like if there are more than, 12 people in my house, we gotta bring in lawn chairs. I don't know, but they had seating for many, many, many people. Giant dinners, big kitchens. A lot of them will have people who work there, and sometimes that's harder for students who aren't used to having someone help out in the home. But in a lot of these families, both parents will work, and they're young children, and somebody is like, everything just takes a little more time. It takes longer to go to the market. It takes longer to prepare food. And so a lot of the families will have people who help, and a lot of the students find after they move past their differing levels of comfort with that, find that they make really great friends and people to talk to, because they're the ones who are home. So Emma, how was your house?
Oh, it was lovely. The night that I got there, you have to save a lot of room in your stomach, because when you do the drop-offs, everyone, like, you go to my house and they have prepared dinner and you meet them and they're like, you are my daughter now, call me dad, and call me mom. Yeah, and like, if you need anything, this is my phone number, and like very welcoming, and like made this great, nice dinner. Ariane told my family that I really liked chicken with tomato sauce, like not one of the national dishes, but a traditional dish. So that's what they made the first night, which was a fun. And then you pick up and go to the other person's house who have also prepared a meal for their daughter, and you also have to eat that. So you have to save room. Yeah, but really just so nice. I felt like there's one other student in the program with me, and we were right across the street from each other, which was perfect. And I felt like her family was also my family, and I spent a lot of time there. She had like a lot of siblings, or a lot of other like young people in the house. Her host sister took us to her high school's party night for the day of the youth. So that was really fun and different than I had ever known. And then my family, I had two older brothers. Yeah, and they were all just like really, really nice. And yeah, there was a woman named Clarice who lived with my family and did like cooking and cleaning and shopping. And she was like one of my favorite people, actually. Just like she was just very easy to talk to and like super nice and really appreciated that I would help with like doing the dishes, like little things like that. People really think you're a nice person. But really, yeah, she was great. Also, like studying to get her degree while she was working. Really amazing. And there was a woman, I'm kind of blanking on her name right now, but she had this cute little daughter, Agnes, and she worked at Brinkley's house and did the same kind of stuff. Because yeah, just like cooking takes way longer, like boiling water over fire to cook things, and yeah, and like doing the laundry by hand. Yeah, but they were like very lovely and yeah, some of the best people to hang out with and talk to.
Right. So we talked about this a little bit. The academic calendar in Cameroon, so fall is only September to mid-December, so it's definitely the shorter of the two semesters. Spring will be mid-January through the end of May. You get 4 units of credit if you go in the fall, you get 5 if you go in the spring. You take exactly the same number of courses, but because Middlebury gives you credit based on, you know, the credit you would have gotten had you been at Middlebury, and you can't get your J-term credit if you do the program in the spring, they give you 5, they give you 9 for the year. Definitely make more progress in the language if you're there for the year. I feel like I can't ask Emma like, oh, do you wish you got to stay longer? Because Emma was there when they had to leave because of COVID. So it's not a fair question, but I will say that most people feel that way. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I was there for like three months. I was there January, February, March, so 3 months. Okay. Well, I was just gonna say like September, October, November to like, so that's like 3.5 in the fall, and I don't think that would be enough time at all, FYI, based on how long I got there.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time, and it's so everything's hard. Studying abroad is hard. In case nobody's told you that, it is hard to speak French all day long. It is hard to figure out how to take a taxi with people you don't know. It is hard to figure out how to go to the university every Monday to see if you're going to have a class that week that you want to take. It's hard. And so once you figure it all out and make some friends, it becomes way more fun. And then you need to leave. Or no, then you need to not talk to any of your friends because you need to cram for all of your finals. And then you need to leave. And so the longer you can make it, I would say, the better. Talk to a lot of people on campus who have gone. I know that we don't have a lot of returned students. I have one returnee because she's the only Middlebury student who went last year. So I would give you, normally at this point, I would give you a list of returned students. Emma is your list. So I know that she'll be happy to talk to you, but I don't have anyone else to send you to. Normally I would, but there are people on campus who have been. Most of the African Studies faculty have been. William in the French department has been, Armel obviously has been, Michael, Nadia. So you can hit up your faculty as well. They were on board from the beginning to design the program. So they're enthusiastic supporters. Know what courses you need when you're here at Middlebury to take, because you don't want to duplicate or replicate, 50% of the course content or more when you're abroad, because you want to make sure that you do your major stuff here on campus. But otherwise, if you're flexible about the sorts of things that you can take, most of it will count back toward a French major or minor, or an IGS degree. You can get, 2 credits for your IGS degree now. So as long as you're not trying to get courses that you can't take there, like I don't know, anything that's not a social science or taught at our center. So those sorts of things, people are usually fine. And the departments want you, they want to be flexible because they want you to be able to go. Yeah, that's all I'll say there. Let's talk about money a little bit. You're going to spend less money in Cameroon than you do at Middlebury, but you're going to want to buy stuff. And Middlebury, I know that you'll want to buy stuff at Middlebury too, but you can live at Middlebury and not buy anything ever. You just go to the dining hall and you get all your food at the dining hall, and you go to the health service and that's already paid for. And you go to the athletic complex and that's already paid for. And you go to the library and that's already paid for. So you don't actually need to spend money at Middlebury, and you will need to spend money. And so it feels a little like real life in that you'll need cash in your pocket and you'll need to spend it to do things like take a taxi and buy your photocopies and buy your water. And I remember when I went to visit and they were starving to death. I'd been there for like a day and a half. And I remember, and I took candy, because that's what I do when I go to visit kids abroad, is I take, Snickers bars, and people were psyched. Anyway, so I took candy and they sat and they just like shoved them in their mouths. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, we're so hungry. I was like, why? Like, well, we have breakfast, then we don't have dinner till really late. And I'm like, what do you do for lunch? And they're like, we don't buy lunch. And I'm like, okay, so let's be clear about this. So we have what we charge you, and we pay your families with part of that money, and we pay your university bills, and we pay our staff and all of that thing. But then we have a budget for what it's supposed to cost you out of pocket. And one of those things is lunch. So you should definitely eat lunch, and you definitely have to pay for your taxis. So that's all in there. And so financial aid, or just your own family, if you're not on aid, doesn't matter. Like, that's the whole budget is in there, and you only pay Middlebury a part of that. So Middlebury, your housing and tuition charge right now for this year is $18,670. And then there's an $1850 study abroad fee. And that's your total bill from Middlebury, $20,520. We also need about $3,500, $3,600, depending on which semester you're going. As you can see, it's a month different between the two semesters, but it's only about $200 because food is not very expensive, but you do need to eat. So please eat. Financial aid will take into account all of that together. I'll just show you real quickly. So fall student in Cameroon is going to be basically $24,000 is how much you need. And that's everything. That's your flight, that's your visa, that's your personal expenses, including lunch that you need to eat, bottled water, going to the smoothie, the juice guy, taxis, all of that is thrown in there so that you can have an accurate sense of what it's really going to cost you to live there. So if your family's contribution is say $4,000 a semester, then you're going to get an aid package for $19,940, right? Middlebury pays itself first. That'll leave you a balance of $580 that you're going to have to pay to Middlebury. And then you're also going to pay your out-of-pocket expenses on site. So people always ask me, like, can I afford to do this program? And if you are on aid, it will cost your family, it should cost your family about the same amount. The difference is any fancy traveling that you want to do. It covers your intra-city travel, and it covers your flight there and back. Emma had an expensive flight home, so not quite in Emma's case. Yeah, if you get Middlebury to pay your whole, if they're going to cover that whole $23,940, you need to tell Middlebury where to give you your disbursement, because that's money that they will then put toward those out-of-pocket expenses for you. The only difference you should see is that any work study that you have at Middlebury will be replaced by loans. So I get that. That's an added layer, but you can't legally have work study and your visa in Cameroon. So how is money for you? Did you feel like you spent a lot? What sorts of things did you buy? Did you have a lot of clothes made? What did you buy?
I feel like I was spending money a lot, definitely, but I don't know if it was more than I would spend. I do think it was more than I would spend at Middlebury, just because like you have to buy food to eat for lunch every day. So you can either like eat out, or we cooked a lot. Like the Middlebury Center has like a full kitchen set up. So that's really great. And sometimes you cook with your Madumba class. Have to spend a lot on taxis, because you take that like twice a day at least. And it's not a small distance. I'm trying to think.
Like, how much was the taxi ride? You say you spend a lot. But it's not like anyone from New York City is like, what do you mean you spend a lot? And don't you spend like $3 a day?
Meal from for two people, I think is like, I want to say like $3. Yeah. It's like an expensive for Cameroon for taxi, but not at all for any public transportation anywhere in the US.
Yeah, and there is no, I mean, there's a bus ostensibly, like you can see the bus, it's parked there downtown, but it doesn't go anywhere.
I would not even talk about the bus. I don't think that's, yeah, it's so erratic. I don't think there's any way to use that. And taxis are kind of fun because you fit 4 people in the back row and 2 people in the passenger seat for it to be a full taxi. And um, yeah, it's a funny thing. But yeah, I think we bought a lot of fabric and had it made into clothing. I think bars are like one of the more expensive things. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's still not expensive in US dollars at all. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else we would have spent money on.
Your cell phone?
Oh, yeah. I bought a Cameroon phone. Also wasn't, yeah, I mean, all of these things are like, they don't feel very expensive just because the conversion is just, the US dollar is really strong. So yeah, I bought a cell phone, not an iPhone, like a little whatever phone. Yeah, and you buy a phone plan that you keep updating, but yeah, super easy. Um, yeah, I can't think of much else. Oh, if you are feeling homesick for some like US style food, or just want to go to a grocery store that looks familiar, there's a bunch of those, like, kind of, I think, geared towards Europeans around, and your family will tell you. So the food there might be more expensive if you want to get like, if you want to get something like cereal, like that's really familiar. Yeah, all in all, good.
Oh, good. If you do the programs through Middlebury College while you're an undergrad, if you want to go, just plant the seed here when you're thinking about your future. If you want to go to Monterey, they'll give you $10,000 off the tuition just for being an alum, an extra $5 for language schools, and an extra $5. So you can get $20,000 in grants to go to Monterey if you graduate, go to language school, and do the Middlebury School in Cameroon, or in France. Next steps. So look in your options. I know it's really early in the semester and you've got, whatever I just said, 3 months to decide where you want to go. Meet with me. I'm happy to have an appointment with you. Talk to your language professors and your academic advisors. Even if you're not sure what your major is, I would like to put in a plug for it not really mattering that much. It's literally, I mean, I don't know what it is now, maybe it's online, but it used to be a half of a sheet of paper, which to me just tells you like that's what's behind that. It's not the end of the world. If you fill out that half piece of paper and you say, I wanted to be poli-sci, and then, a semester later you think, no, I'm IP&E, you can change it. It's a half a sheet of paper. It just needs a new signature on it. So don't think that once you choose your major, I mean, yes, if you choose a physics major and then your senior year you decide you're really into, French literature, perhaps the ship has sailed. But, usually people know what they kind of like to study. So just don't let that be the hurdle for you in filling out your study abroad forms. Just go with what you're feeling, and you can change it if it's, not too far down the road. I would say contact return students, but contact Emma because she is our student. Great job. Look at your passport, especially right now. It is taking months If you got your passport before you were 16, it's only good for 5 years, which is important because you'll be 20 and then it will expire. So your passport has to be good for 6 months after you plan to come back from Cameroon, which is a long time from now. So have a look at it. And if you need to renew it now-ish, because it will take a while to get it these days. We'll have lots of times to talk before you actually go. I understand you're applying by February 1st, whether you want to go next fall or next spring, which seems really far away. So, you know, I work every day. So talk to me whenever, hit up Emma whenever. And that is all I have to say today. So feel free to reach out and let me know how I can help. Stop this little share and stop recording.